Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to another Walking Dead video. So in this one here, I want to get into a couple of things here. Actually, I want to talk about the ratings for episode 4, but I also want to get into some stuff that Norman Reedus was talking about regarding Andrew Lincoln and John Bernthal and some other Walking Dead related things just sort of in general. So yeah, before we go any further, make sure to be a subscriber if you want to get all my Walking Dead content like this. In 2 more days, episode 5 will be airing, and I'm really excited to see how that episode's going to, I guess, really build up the finale, because it felt like episode 4 was the finale. Like, it felt like that was sort of the introduction to like something new, and then also the ending of the arc that we've been on really since the beginning of the series, since the beginning of season 1, right? So I'm really interested in episode 5 in terms of where that episode's going to take us, you know, going into the very, I guess, last episode of the season, because the finale, I imagine, just based off of all of this here, has to end on a cliffhanger. Like, I don't know if it's going to, but like maybe it's something where they're going to Spain, and so there's no real conclusion to something, and then it just sort of ends right there. Like, I'm just assuming that based off of where the story is right now, because episode 4 ended everything really fast. I think that going into episode 6, it just kind of makes sense. Like, they're just going to be running away, trying to get away from everyone. They know where to go, and so it's going to end really with them on their way to Spain or something like that, basically. Like, they're just going to leave, and the nest is going to, I mean, I'm not sure what they're going to do at that point. I think that we'll get a different story for season 3, but there will still be elements of the nest and all that, you know, around in France, and maybe we'll see that play out, I guess, in a season 3 or 4. I'm not sure, but it just feels like that's sort of where we're going right now, unless there's some other part to the story here. But it just kind of makes sense at this point that there's going to be some sort of cliffhanger here, I think, for the finale, and it's not going to be as, you know, much of a finale like The Ones Who Live was, or Dead City, or even, you know, Daryl Dixon season 1. Though I will say Dead City season 1 kind of was more of a cliffhanger, I guess. So, yeah, but let's talk about the ratings here. So the ratings actually dropped down to 0.480 million viewers. And so that was a drop of, I mean, I'm not entirely sure what the numbers were. It's a little bit lower than episode 2, though. So it's around the same average, obviously. Still solid numbers in terms of cable and whatnot. Like, honestly, it really is hard to sort of criticize any of these numbers when you look at like The Ones Who Live, who got like 0.8 something, you know, million, I guess, per episode, like roughly. Daryl Dixon is getting like 0.4 right now, although I think the average is probably like 0.5 something. And so again, this is like hundreds of thousands, and it's just the US on cable. It's not worldwide or anything like that. Like, it's just literally US viewers. Yeah, it's such a small amount, you know, and look at Dead City. Like, Dead City season 1 had really crazy ratings, honestly. For some reason, that show's ratings were very similar to The Ones Who Live. So I think that overall the shows right now are just about here. Like, most shows right now are around like 0.200,000, 0.300. I think Interview with the Vampire is around 0.100 to 0.200. So yeah, pretty solid numbers overall. You know, that's sort of what you would expect from this show, I would say. Like, the way I look at the ratings here overall to see how they're doing is I just sort of look at the other shows that are getting renewed for other seasons and other shows that are airing at the same time. Like, sports in general, when you look at the ratings for that, they're always really high, so you have to ignore that. But when you compare it to other shows airing at the same time, like The Penguin and all that, The Walking Dead, Daryl Dixon has been beating that show in terms of like cable ratings and whatnot, at least from what I've seen anyways, for the last couple of episodes. And so, I mean, obviously more people are watching, but then again, like, I don't know the streaming numbers, and I think that's really what's the most important. And now that we're 4 episodes in, you know, AMC hasn't come out and like announced anything in terms of the streaming numbers. I don't think that indicates anything bad, but it's sort of what we're seeing overall, which is just like, yeah, it's just that it's solid numbers. Like, they're good numbers. They're not bad. They're not like amazing numbers or anything like that. It's probably one of their top shows, I'm sure, but yeah, I think that until we get those numbers, we really have no idea, I guess, you know, what the actual, I guess, viewership is for The Walking Dead overall, because it is really hard to say. I think they have like 10 to 12 million subscribers overall. How many are subscribed because of The Walking Dead? I only subscribe to AMC Plus, I guess, for The Walking Dead. So yeah, I'm not sure what the numbers are. I'm sure they're in the millions. You know, when I look at the way The Walking Dead was before, like, that's sort of the thing. Like, I kind of look at the context of all of it. Like, if The Walking Dead, The Ones Who Live, was at 0.800,000, and remember, as time goes on, the ratings are going to drop, like, you know, season to season, because people are getting rid of cable year after year. So I just look at it like, you know, if The Ones Who Live had numbers, you know, that were similar, it was like the highest viewed show or something for AMC over the last like 6 years or something like that. So when I go back to like when that would have been, so that would have been like 2018, that would have been like around season 8 or season 9, which was 6 to 8 million. I feel like I don't have these numbers in front of me, so I really don't know, but I think it was around there, and that was for cable, and that was way before AMC Plus. So the only way you could watch The Walking Dead was on cable. And so I think that, yeah, the fact that it's sort of matching numbers like that in terms of, I guess streaming service numbers, I feel like based off of that, I could assume that there's at least 3 to 4, maybe 5 million, but probably around 4 million people in total watching The Walking Dead Daryl Dixon, which is similar to like season 9, season 10 numbers of the show, which to me, again, I think AMC Plus came around after season 10. It was around the bonus episodes. There was at some point after that. I think it was mostly for the final season. So those are really good numbers overall. So to me, yeah, I think that The Walking Dead is doing really great. Again, I sort of only follow the ratings right now because it's kind of interesting. Like I didn't want to do a video just solely on this. And so that's why I'm mentioning it here, just to sort of, give an update because it's kind of interesting to see, right? But yeah, I do also want to get into an interview here with Norman Reedus in which he actually talked about, and this was during Palais Fest. And so not a lot of people covered Palais Fest. It seems like there was a lot of stuff that when I went back and watched the panel yesterday, there was a few things that Gimple mentioned where I was like, okay, that's really interesting. I don't know why people aren't talking about that. So I will do a video on that tomorrow. But Norman Reedus talked about something here that I found kind of interesting. And he also mentioned something else later during Palais Fest that it's very similar. And that's sort of why I really like the spinoffs right now. And yeah, he talks about working with John Bernthal and Andrew Lincoln and how, back in the day, it really felt like everyone was just all in on the story and whatnot. And then later on during The Walking Dead, it wasn't really as much like that because I guess everyone was more focused on their own thing. And there were so many new characters that not everyone was just focused on the story. And I think he talked about how later on, it wasn't so much like that. Like everyone wasn't that involved in the story. Like they sort of just read their own lines and that was it. And I mean, it makes sense, the story is going to get bigger and bigger. But the one thing that I really like is that he said that, with The Walking Dead now, like the spinoffs right now, that renewed energy with everything, it feels very similar. And so that's one aspect to this that I really do like. Like, I like the fact that the shows do feel like the first couple of seasons of The Walking Dead, because it did. And I will say, season 1 of Daryl Dixon felt like that. It felt like the first season of The Walking Dead. The second season has a lot of issues, and it doesn't necessarily feel like that. And I think that's what they got to fix going into season 3, because there's a lot of complaints. Like, a lot of people are complaining about the pacing. It's too fast. You're killing off characters way too soon. Too many convenient moments happening, and there's not a lot of bigger world stuff happening. Like, I'm just, in terms of the story for Madame Genet and Pouvoir and what's happening in France, it just feels like they're ending that way too soon. Like, I feel like maybe we should get a season 3 of it. Or then again, like, if there was more episodes this season, that would fix that. And the one thing that I really do like, though, and I hope that they focus on in season 3, because it hasn't really been a focus for season 2, even though we see these moments here and there. Again, that's sort of the issue with it being so short and them rushing through the story so much, is that we don't get to see how these characters are evolving overall, right? But Norman Reedus actually said, in terms of how he's playing Daryl now, like for the story, he says that I'm trying to play it now in a way where Daryl's maturing. He's trying to make decisions based on other characters that he's met along the way. I think early Daryl wasn't much of a negotiator, and now I'm trying to come into situations and think, what would Herschel do? What would Rick do? And that's one aspect of the character that I can definitely see. I think in season 2 and even in season 1, he does look at things like, what would Rick do or what would Herschel do in situations like this? Like, he does look up to them, and it is really cool to see, to sort of pay a respect to those characters and whatnot. And just to see Daryl grow, I would say, as a character overall, I think that's what I mean. I wish that there was more of a focus on that, and I think that that's one of those things that, in terms of my criticisms for season 2 overall, is that's just sort of what has been lacking all season, is that the characters don't feel like the characters. And maybe it's because there was just so much happening. And I think that's what I'm going to really focus on in a season 2 review, is like, because so far, I mean, maybe that changes in the next 2 episodes where it doesn't feel like that as much. But when you really look at it, like 4 episodes in, like, so much stuff has happened. And that's what I mean. Like the 6 episode thing, I talk about it a lot, I know, but it's because it is something that it's really such a huge problem, because like 4 episodes in, like just 4 episodes of this season, and obviously that's 2/3 of the season, but in just 4 episodes, we got Carol all the way to France. She basically took out Madame Genet, right? Like, it was her that did it technically. Like, she ended the Pouvoir storyline almost. I mean, obviously there's a little bit still left to tell, but she basically ended the Pouvoir storyline. Isabel's gone. They're leaving the nest now. Like, so much has happened in just 4 episodes. Like, this doesn't feel like The Walking Dead. The other shows did. You know, and I think that Dead City Season 2 will feel like The Walking Dead because obviously it's 8 episodes and the story isn't going to be as insane as this story was. And I think that one of the issues with Season 2 was that you had to get Carol to France. I really think that that was an overall issue for the story because it took up so much of the screen time of, again, like you're already doing 6 episodes. That's not enough at all. And so now you're taking up most of the story to have Carol go to France. Like, I think that just the way that this season was handled overall really wasn't the best. And also, I mean, literally you add the title to the season, The Book of Carol. It just makes this season overall, I would say, not the greatest. Like, it wasn't a bad season. Like, this season's not a bad season. It's just that compared to the standard that these spinoffs have now set, it's definitely the worst season so far, I would say. Like, Dead City Season 1 was better than this season. Obviously, Season 1 of Daryl Dixon was better, and The Ones Who Live was better than this. I haven't watched everything entirely yet. We still have 2 more episodes left, but yeah, we'll see. Maybe that'll change. Maybe my opinion will change by the time we get to the finale, but after 4 episodes, that is how I feel about it overall. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see where things go. Obviously, The Ones Who Live, like, that's my thing, is as much as I don't like the finale, every single episode before that I had so much fun with, and it was a lot of fun watching that. So with this show, I've had issues with almost every episode, and I've talked about that obviously in my reviews and everything. And so as cool as certain moments are, and I do really like the show overall, like, that's the thing too. Compare Season 2 of The Walking Dead Daryl Dixon to Fear the Walking Dead or to World Beyond. Like, this is way better. So I'm not saying this is a bad season or anything like that. I'm really enjoying this season. I'm just comparing it to the spinoffs that we've had so far, and it's not the strongest season of the spinoff so far. So I mean, yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Honestly, I don't know what the ratings are going to be like for the future and all that, and just sort of, because that's the one thing too, I'm really interested in the ratings for Dead City Season 2, because if they're higher than Daryl Dixon, then that will tell me right there that I think fans aren't really necessarily excited about Daryl being in other places. Or maybe it's more because of the character pairings, like maybe people just like Negan more. There is more excitement, I would say, with Negan because he's such an exciting character. And then obviously Rick Grimes' return was just amazing. Like, people were really looking forward to that. So with Daryl, he's always sort of been there, you know, and I think that, yeah, you might have to introduce more of an exciting story there, which they were with the Super Walkers, but they just kind of forgot about that this season, which is another issue. So yeah, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see where this goes. But yeah, I'm going to leave it here. Definitely post all your thoughts down below. Hope you all enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.